Google released a free AI tool that I believe is making millionaires right now. Now, to make things even better, they just dropped a brand new feature inside this AI tool. And in today's video, I'll show you how to get it to send you a flood of visitors right to your website so that you can be one of these NotebookLM millionaires. Now, this process is super simple. It takes just 5 steps. So let's get into it. Okay, like usual, the deck from today's content and all of the resources, links, and other stuff will be made available to you when this training is posted. Just look down below in the comments or in the description. You'll see a link where you can claim your copy. With that, we're going to dive in. And of course, this is all about NotebookLM. This is a fairly new Google tool, and they just released some new features, and it seems like they're dropping new features almost every week now. So there's a brand new feature that I'm going to show you how to exploit it to get traffic. Not just make cool content, like some people are showing you how to make videos and audios and things like that. I'm going to show you how to use it to get traffic, so that you can make actual, put it in the bank profit. And this is all from me in my experience as producing over $100 million in revenue across all my different internet businesses over the last 25 years. And so I'm gonna show you exactly how I will be using this to get traffic to my site. So with NotebookLM, you can make podcasts. Now, a podcast is just an audio interview. And I showed this off in our earlier training. So if you're not familiar with podcasts and how NotebookLM can make a podcast for you, I'll link down below to my previous training. You can learn more about it. But basically, I'll do a quick overview. And this is going to be an important part of what we'll do next. But the first step is to generate your podcast. And in NotebookLM, generating a podcast is super simple. You can give it YouTube links. You can upload PDFs. You can point it to web pages. You can copy and paste text. You can give it a bulk of information, and then it will generate a podcast for you. That's an audio podcast. Now, I want to show you something here. This is a little trick that we're going to be covering in a minute. See this audio here? This is the podcast. And a lot of people are showing you how to make these little 5 to 10 minute podcasts using NotebookLM. And if you'll notice, look at how long that one is. This is a 38-minute podcast. I'm going to show you how you can make a really long podcast. And here's an example. This is about the 48 laws of power. All I did is uploaded the book. It's an actual book. I uploaded it, copy, paste, send it on in. We're good to go.
Ready to get a little bit devious today.
I think devious is putting it mildly.
Fair enough. We're cracking open Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. This book, it's a little bit controversial, but, you know.
It's certainly thought-provoking.
It really is. Full of fascinating insights into how power dynamics really, truly work. We've got excerpts from all 40.
So there's an example of what one of these sounds like. And podcasts are a huge phenomenon in today's world. And we've seen it, they've become like mass culture. The mass market is now using podcasts. Presidential campaigns in the United States, the candidates are appearing on podcasts all over the place. So they are mainstream, and they are where people are putting attention. And so now using NotebookLM, follow the training from my earlier video. Again, I'll link to it down below. We're not going to do a deep dive on making podcasts. I'm going to show you how to, one particular feature where you can make the best possible podcast and how you can make extra long podcasts as well. So we're going to cover that today. But if you're looking for a basic guide on how to do it, reference my video. I'll link to it down below, and that walks through that particular training. So we're going to generate this podcast. What it does, it's totally free. You just sign up and it will let you add all of these sources. You can upload PDFs, text files, MP3s, Google Docs, websites, YouTube videos, and you can give it up to 50 sources on any one particular topic. And it will study all of them. And it kind of lets you talk to those documents in a sense, but it also will let you output lots of really useful, valuable content based upon those source files. And here's an example. You can go to notebooklm.google, and that's where you can get access. If you don't have it already, just click on that Try NotebookLM button. And then it'll prompt you to attach sources. And as we saw here, let's go back. I'm going to go to the main thing and show you what it looks like when you just do a new one. You can either upload them by choosing a file, attach it to Google Docs, a Google Slide, a website link, a YouTube video, or copy and paste text, okay? And again, up to 50 different files can be put in here. And then once you've put the file in, the user interface here, let's go back to this one I did here. Looks like this. And we can generate all kinds of cool stuff. Table of contents, a briefing doc, a study guide, frequently asked questions. You can chat with the documents. You can use it to generate articles and all kinds of really cool stuff. Again, we're not going to get too into the weeds on that because I've covered it already on the channel in the link that's down below. But what we do need for today's training is we need the podcast. You need to do the podcast episode, and then you need to download it. Once you have generated it, you just click download right there. Okay, so we're going to click download. We're going to put it right on our computer. And there it is. Okay, so that's the first step that we need to do in order to start getting traffic. And let's move on, and I'll show you how this continues to work. The other thing that they have done, this is by request. You now can actually customize your podcast. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So before, all you could do was hit a button, and then it was just up to Google to generate whatever they wanted. And now you can customize the podcast about the topics and other things, which I'll show you in just a moment. Now, one of the things when it comes to NotebookLM podcasts is that you have had little control. Like when they first released this, it's a pretty new feature. The podcasting feature is pretty new. And when they released it, you just left it up to Google to figure out what they wanted the podcast to be about. And you didn't have a lot of control over it. Now, to me, they were fine. They were actually great. They actually might be better than stock right out of the gate. The podcasts were often better than I would be able to do myself. So I was happy with that. But Google has one-upped themselves. And now you can modify the topic. You can give instructions to the hosts, and you can control with a lot more degree of power what they're going to talk about. So I want to show you really quickly how you get them to talk about what you want. In fact, our very own producer, Nick, figured out how to use this feature to make them talk longer. And he's been able to generate, what's that podcast you did? It was 40 something minutes, a lengthy podcast. I took what he said, I tried it myself, and I was able to get a 38-minute podcast generated by this, which is pretty surprising. I just went in there, I hit generate, I came back like 5 or 10 minutes later, and I had a 38-minute podcast sitting there waiting for me. Pretty powerful stuff. I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to go back to NotebookLM. We're going to make a new notebook. We're going to give it a source. It can be any source. So in this case, you know what? I'll just upload a document. So let's upload. Let me go to my downloads. I'm gonna upload Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. Okay. So we're uploading the book called Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. You can see it's processing it now right there. And if you want to learn how to get the PDFs on how you get the PDFs of books to be able to use in this, reference my earlier training video. I'll put a link to it below. I showed how to do that. So here we go. It has now done its analysis and it finished it up. And now previously you would just hit this blue generate button right there. Now we've got customize. And here we can give our hosts instructions on what we want them to talk about. One of the things that producer Nick did and what he showed me, many of these will be examples of like focus on how a customer's awareness impacts how you should write social media content. Okay, so that's an example of a topic that could be useful, right? This book is old, it's from the 60s, and it covers persuasion and selling. So I want the hosts to take those tried and true strategies and talk about how they can be used in social media. So that's what I just told them to do. And so when I hit generate, it's going to now make a podcast that focuses on that. So now think about this. I could do a series of podcasts just on this one book by customizing the topic. So now let's say what I could think about, what are other ways the value of that book can be used. So maybe we can talk about how that book can be used to write sales letters. How can that book be used to write emails? How can that book be used to make podcasts, right? There's like all these angles that we could hit when it comes to, the content of this book. Each one could be a 10 to 15 minute little short mini podcast all in of itself, all on just this one book. Now, the second hack using Customize that I want to show you, let's go back to NotebookLM, and I'm going to show you this one here. I did this, and look at that. I got a 38-minute podcast by doing this. And it just so happens I use the 48 Laws of Power. And let's see, I don't know if I can't show you the Customize button contents, but I'll tell you what I did. So I just told them that I wanted a lengthy podcast. And what I said in this case was do a podcast episode and make sure you cover in detail every one of the 48 Laws of Power in the book. And don't leave any out is what I said. And that got me a 38-minute podcast episode. So normally you're going to see anywhere from like 5 to 10 minutes is kind of typically what it will spit out. But here's some examples of how to tell them to be much more detailed. Tell them not to leave things out. Make sure they cover every chapter and every section or every point. And you can get creative with what you want to tell them to be focused on. But you can now kind of force them to get detailed and make the podcast much longer. So there's a couple ways to do it there, by either narrowing the focus on one topic at a time or broadening it out to make the podcast much more lengthy. And I listened to this 48 Laws of Power podcast, pretty good. If the idea of succeeding in the modern world, whether it's in business, in life, in relationships, and whatever, 48 Laws of Power has some very useful and practical advice. And that podcast that it generated was pretty darn good. So all of that is in the Customize feature. So let's go back here. We'll take a look. Let's see if it finished my Breakthrough Advertising podcast. It did. Okay. So here's the Breakthrough Advertising podcast that we just created. We got a 12-minute episode basically out of it. So let's take a listen.
All right, let's dive into this thing. Customer awareness, how it can completely change the way you write for social media. We're going deep with Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. A classic, right? Still holds up today, even though it's from way back in 1966. Crazy.
I know. It's amazing how relevant it still is.
So the big question we're wrestling with today is this. How does understanding where your customer is mentally actually change the way you talk to them on social media? Like, how does that impact your writing?
So you may find yourself wanting to listen to this podcast because I'm going to come back and I'm going to listen to this. I would love to hear the insights because it's so applicable and valuable. And there you have it. So that's how we can make our podcasts even more valuable by using this brand new, like literally just out of the oven feature that Google has given us. Now, a quick little note, when you're using YouTube videos, we'll usually automatically create transcripts for videos. And sometimes, every once in a while, you'll try to use a YouTube video and it won't take it. It'll give you a little error, okay? If you get that, you just need to go to this resource here. So this is something by Toasty AI. And let me just see if I can get it to open in a window here. And if you have that problem, you can come here and just generate a transcript that you can then copy and paste into NotebookLM instead, okay? So if you have that problem where you're trying to add a source, if we come over here, we're trying to add a new source. And let's say you've put your YouTube link in here and it errors. Use this resource to generate a transcript, and then you can copy and paste that into NotebookLM instead. Okay, just a quick little side note there for that does happen. I ran into that actually just yesterday where I tried to use a YouTube video, it errored, and I just needed to generate a quick transcript to copy and paste instead. Now, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that Google actually wants us to make money with this tool. It's been getting a lot of attention. The media's been talking about it. I mean, look, I just had one of our best ever videos on the channel was on this topic. So there's a lot of interest in it. And there was an interview in VentureBeat. They're going to be saying here that they're going to be releasing enhanced features for businesses, universities, and organizations. So that's actually coming soon, where we'll be able to have a lot more features for businesses. And if it's like the other tools, it'll be a small paid upgrade. It probably won't cost much. I'll bet, in fact, that they'll probably give it to those who get like a Gemini Pro account, which is like, I think that's $20 a month, if I remember right. And there's an example, okay? By the way, I want to say stick around to the end of this video. I actually have a exclusive resource that's going to make what I'm going to show you here 10 times more powerful. So I'm going to have a downloadable resource for you that you can use that's going to make this strategy super powerful so you can get more backlinks faster, easier, and more traffic. So stick around for that. I'll be covering that and show you how to get at and claim that in just a minute. Okay, now the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take that podcast file, the one that I just downloaded, and you're going to put it on your website. Now that might sound complicated, but it's not. It's very, very easy. So all we're going to do is we're going to go to SoundCloud. That's at soundcloud.com. You're going to sign up for a free account. You can click here on upload your own. You're going to want to make sure you make your free account. You do not need to upgrade to a paid account. You can do this on a free account. And you're going to want to upload the file that I just downloaded. So once you've uploaded the file, again, just create your free account. It'll prompt you to upload it. Just upload the file that you just downloaded. Like it's right here in my downloads right there. That file that you saw me download, upload that to SoundCloud. They will give you a little piece of code that you can copy and paste into your website. And it's very simple. Like if you're in WordPress, like all of my clients use WordPress, and you can just copy and paste that into a page on your site in WordPress. That's the perfect solution. So that is something that is step 2. Pop that SoundCloud embed. It's called an embed code. Pop that onto your site, save it, and you're ready for step 3. So step 3 is we're going to now take that podcast and we're going to get it listed on websites all over the internet. Here is where the awesome stuff begins. When you have a podcast, it opens up the door to get it listed on sites all over the internet. Many of those sites will also allow you to have a backlink. Just by having that audio file on your site, the way we showed you, it opens the door so that you can go and submit to these sites, and they will give you a link back to your website. Now, if you're wondering, why would you want that? Well, that is the biggest factor for getting free traffic from Google is the number of backlinks, they call them, pointing back to your website. And now, as someone who has a podcast, you can go out and get those links from very powerful, very high authority websites that Google respects. This is incredibly valuable if you're trying to rank from Google. The more of these kinds of backlinks that you have, the more authority and power you have in the eyes of Google, and the more they will trust you, the more they will rank your pages, and the more important they view your website. So that is the value here. And on top of that, you'll have your podcast listed all over the place and people listening to it. So it's getting your brand out there as well. Now, if you're a little bit technical, there's a lot of things you can do to your podcast. You can edit it to add commercials or add promotions for things into it. That's not going to be the topic of today's show, which, by the way, in the comments, drop in the comments below and let me know. Would you be interested in learning more about how to do some of that stuff? Like, what if you could create your own voices? The Google Podcasts generate a default set of voices, but what if you had a pretty simple way to make them unique? Or maybe even put it in your own voice. I can show you how to do that on a future training. So let me know if you want to learn how to make really advanced podcasts, how to edit them, change the voices on them, and make them uniquely your own. Then drop a comment for me down below and let me know if that's something you're interested in. The other thing I can teach you how to do is turn these into video podcasts. So some really cool video materials you can make with these. So why not combine them? Change the voices and make a video podcast out of this as well, where you could literally have guests talking to each other, and it comes out pretty darn awesome. So let me know. Again, just comment down below if you're interested in learning how to do that, and I'll cover it for you here on the channel, as long as there's enough interest in it. So now I hope you see the value in why we want these backlinks, because not only do we get actual real podcast listeners, we're going to get traffic of people that are going to be interested in our topic, and they're going to want to go to your site, and there'll be a nice prominent link. And let me show you an example of what one of these looks like here. So let's go back to the screen share. So this is an example for you of what one of these podcast listings looks like once you have done the submission. And you'll notice you can play it and listen to the podcast. There's some information here about the podcast. You'll notice there are links to all their socials. So if your business has a Facebook page, you can link to it here. See that? You can also link to your Twitter, whatever other socials you've got, and your website. There's 2 places that you have links here. First, you'll notice here on the screen, this right here, it's a little hard to tell because of the way the page is formatted, but this right here is an actual backlink, okay? The other backlink, if you scroll down here, we'll see it down below. See right there, official episode page. That is also a backlink. And these are examples. And there's a whole variety of many sites that will do this. In fact, let's take a look. I have a bunch of these I'll show you really quick. This is from Content Powered. Here's a list of 40 sites and directories to submit your podcast to. Here's 75 more podcast submission sites that you can submit to. Here is another one, definitive podcast directory list. There is a bunch of them listed here, okay? Here's another one, 15 essential places to submit your show. Those are all listed there. Now, one of the things that I want to do for you is make this simple. So stick around. I'm going to make it simple. So I'm going to give you a resource where you can get all of those directories listed in one place. I'll give it to you as a free gift. So stick around. I'll give you the link on how to get that in a moment. All right, so now you can see here on the page that we're going to be submitting to all those podcast directories. I want to ask you, maybe at this point, you're a little skeptical. Does this really work? Well, here's someone right here on Twitter. Here, let's go over to Twitter. And they say here, in just over 2 hours, I curated a new podcast of 10 episodes and listed it on Spotify. 10 episodes already created, all created with this strategy. It is created with NotebookLM. Here's their podcast listed right there for you to see. This was all created using the strategies I'm telling you. They created their podcast and then started listing it everywhere, including, as you see here, on Spotify. All these episodes were done using NotebookLM, and he talks about it here right in this tweet. Again, all these resources will be linked to you in the deck when you join our free Ingeniosity newsletter. So it's totally free. Just join our Ingeniosity newsletter, and we'll give you access to all of these resources when you do that. Step 4, rank. You're going to get backlinks. So if you apply the other strategies that I teach on how to write articles and how to put content on your website designed to get you traffic, or maybe you're somebody who uses my traffic pack services where we do all of your content marketing for you. Here is now you're giving your site extra power and extra authority so that those pages can easily rank for the keywords that you're trying to target. Now, I am a huge advocate that when you're driving traffic, you want to be building an email list. Maybe it used to be kind of optional, I guess you'd say, but in today's world, it's mandatory. You must be building an email list. So when people are clicking through from your podcast episodes, they're coming to your website, you've got to make sure you get their names and emails and you extract that so you can do future marketing and make even more money. Okay, so it's one thing to get the visitors to your site, but then you need to capture their email addresses. And I have a whole video training on that, by the way, and I'll link to that. It's here on the channel, but I'll link to it in the deck to make it convenient for anybody who downloads the deck. You'll be able to get the straight link to that training right there. Now, here's what I'm going to do for everyone who's watching this video. If you stuck around till now, been hanging in here with me, I'm going to do something for you. So we are compiling all of the directories of websites that you can post your podcast to. Okay? And here is the beginning of it. There are many more coming to this list. Okay. So this will avoid you having to go site by site, doing the research. You got 75 on one site, 40 on another, 15 on another. We are going to go compile all of those resources together into one master document that you can download. And we will make this available to everyone who joins our free Ingeniosity newsletter. So there's no strings attached. You don't have to pay anything. Just join our newsletter, and we're going to make that available to all of our newsletter subscribers. I will pop a link down below and in the comments so that you can claim that. That's my gift to you for hanging out throughout this video to the end. So that's it for this video. If you got value from it, make sure give me a thumbs up. You know what to do there. Tap that like button. Drop any comments, again, any questions you have about this strategy, and vote. Let me know. Do you want me to cover how to change the voices in NotebookLM to make them uniquely your own, and how to do video podcasts using NotebookLM as well. If there's enough interest, then I will cover those topics, drop those comments down below. And then finally, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We release awesome content like this all throughout the week, every week, because it is my mission in life to help you succeed as an entrepreneur. That some many years ago, I made that my personal life's mission. It's my way to have an impact on the world. And if you want more content from me and my team, then subscribe to the channel and make sure you smash that bell icon, because YouTube is famous for you subscribe to a channel and then they don't notify you when we make content. The only way you can be sure you'll get the notification is if you tap the bell icon and you specifically tell YouTube that you want all your notifications from me. And then those will all come through. You'll be notified of the next bit of content. And on that note, that's it for today. See you next time. You may or may not know, I have an AI tool that's a company called PushButton AI that helps people build course businesses. It builds the whole business, bottom to top. It helps you do the research to pick the niche market, helps you figure out what topics you should write about, what your course should be about, what the lessons should be about. It outlines the lessons. It writes the whole thing. It creates your sales page. It creates your page to get leads to subscribe to your business. It even writes your email sequence. It does audiobooks, video trainings, and a whole lot more. You just answer 2 questions and you hit a button and it does it all. If you're interested in that, certainly you can book a demo to see it for yourself. You'll see with your own eyes. We're often running webinars and other trainings as well. So I'll drop links to either our webinar or our demos down below so you can check it out and see if it's something for you. But I found that most people get really overwhelmed and frustrated with the technical stuff. So that's why we created PushButton AI. If you're looking for a tool, we'll just do it for you and it'll just handle the technical stuff. So when it comes to like setting up your web hosting, registering a domain name, setting up your email marketing, we even include a complete, fully functional email marketing platform that you can log into and email all of your customers and subscribers. It's all included. And all of the tech setup is done by the AI. If you want that, then definitely schedule your demo. You can get a demo from us by going to pushbutton.ai/demo. Now, at the time of recording this video, PushButton AI is not publicly for sale, but if you book a demo, they'll show you the technology, and if it makes sense, if it's something that can really help you, they'll invite you into our early access program. But what they'll do first is show you the technology. They'll talk about what kind of a course you might want to make. They'll talk about your business plans. They'll help guide you on what the right choices are for creating your first course business. And then if it makes sense, if it's the right tool for you, they'll invite you into the early access program. But check out the demo. It's mind-blowing. Again, that's at pushbutton.ai/demo. That's pushbutton.ai/demo.